I had to turn this on. It's almost 3 in the morning. I haven't slept. I can't. He was just here in this room. And I know how that sounds. I know. For years, I've had the incredible, humbling, terrifying privilege of putting on the robe and the sandals, of saying the words, of trying to portray a fraction, just a tiny sliver of the love and the authority of Jesus for the show. And you get used to the lines. You get used to the feeling on set. But this is not that. This is not a script. My hands are shaking. I can't stop them from shaking. I was asleep, or I thought I was. And then the air in the room changed. It got heavy, thick, like you could feel the presence of eternity pressing in. And then I heard his voice, not in my head, not like a memory of a line from the script. It was audible. It was here. And he said, "Wake up. I have to show you something. Time is shorter than they know." So I sat up and the vision started. It wasn't a dream. I was wide awake, sitting on the edge of my bed, but my room was gone. I was standing in what looked like a massive celestial workshop, and there were these spiritual blueprints laid out on tables of pure light. And Jesus was standing next to me. He looked at me, and there was no condemnation in his eyes, just an urgency I have never been able to replicate on screen, an urgency that pierced right through me. He said, "Before the foundation of the world, I knew them. I marked them for this final hour." And he pointed to the blueprints. He said, "These are the birthmarks of the remnant, the signs of those I have set apart, not by their own merit, not by their own strength, but by my grace for my purpose. And you must tell them to look for these marks on their spirit, because the enemy is trying to counterfeit them, to confuse them, to make them doubt the call I placed on them before they took their first breath." He told me there are 5 of these birth arcs, 5 spiritual markers that identify his chosen remnant in these last days. And listen, this isn't about pride. This isn't about being better than anyone else. He was so clear about that. It's about purpose. It's about being prepared for what's coming, because the ones who carry these marks, you have a specific role to play. And he needs you awake. He needs you ready. The first birth arc he showed me, he called it a holy discontent. It's a feeling, a deep, unshakable ache in your soul that this world is not your home. You know what I'm talking about. You go to parties, you're at family gatherings, you watch the news, you scroll through your phone, and you just feel off. There's a hollowness to it all, a profound sense of not belonging. It's not depression, though the enemy will try to convince you it is. It's not anxiety, though it can feel like it. It's the homing beacon of heaven in your spirit. It's your soul crying out for your true country. As Hebrews 11 says, "Like Abraham, you are living as a stranger and an exile on the earth, looking for a city whose architect and builder is God." For years, I thought something was wrong with me. I'm a 51-year-old man. I should be settled. I have a good life, a career people would dream of, but I've never felt settled. I've never had a wife, never had kids, and there's always been this quiet loneliness, not for a person, but for a place, for home. And tonight, Jesus looked at me and said, "That feeling is not a weakness. It is a mark. It is my spirit in you, reminding you that you were made for more. You were made for eternity. Do not let the world numb that ache. That ache is your compass." So if you feel that if you've always felt like a square peg in a round world, if the pleasures and ambitions of this life leave you feeling empty, that is not a curse. It is the first birth arc. It's a sign that heaven has a claim on you. And that first mark, that holy discontent, it leads directly to the second one. He showed it to me right after the vision shifted. I was standing on a busy street corner. People were rushing past on their phones, laughing, arguing, completely oblivious. And as they passed, I felt a wave of emotion that was so powerful, it brought me to my knees. It was love. But it was a painful love. It was a heartbreaking compassion. It was the second birth arc, an unshakable love for the lost. Jesus was standing beside me, and he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the crowd, and I could feel his heart. I could feel it breaking. For the young woman with tattoos and piercings, hiding her pain behind a tough exterior. For the businessman in the expensive suit, his face a mask of stress and emptiness. For the elderly couple, walking slowly, their shoulders stooped with a lifetime of regrets. He wasn't seeing their sin as a reason for judgment. He was seeing their brokenness as a reason for rescue. He said to me, "My remnant does not carry a spirit of judgment, but a spirit of compassion. They weep for what I weep for." He was quoting Matthew 9, where he saw the crowds and had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. And I just started weeping right there in the vision. I couldn't stop because I realized how often my love for the lost is just theory. It's an idea. It's not this gut-wrenching, desperate desire to see them saved. This second birthmark isn't about pointing fingers at the world and saying, look how sinful they are. It's about looking at the world through his eyes and having your heart break. It's feeling a genuine personal burden for your neighbors, your coworkers, the people you see at the grocery store. It's a love that compels you to pray for them, to see them not as the enemy, but as captives of the enemy who need to be set free. It's the love that drove him to the cross. And he said, those who carry this mark cannot rest while their brothers and sisters are perishing. It keeps them up at night. It drives them to their knees. It is the fuel for the Great Commission in the final hour. So the first mark is a discontent with this world. The second is a heartbreaking love for the people in it. These are the foundational marks. They are about the posture of your heart. But he told me that these first two are just the beginning. They are the internal signs. The next ones are about what happens when that internal reality meets the external world. They are about the tests that are coming, the tests that are already here. He showed me the third mark, and honestly, it's the one that scares me the most. It's the one that I know I fail at over and over. It's a test of our response, a test of our character under fire. He showed me a vision of a lion, but it wasn't what you think. It wasn't about being fierce or bold in the way we usually think. It was about something else entirely, something that most of us, even good Bible-believing Christians, get wrong every single day. And he said, this third mark is what separates the remnant from the crowd. It's the proof of authentic sonship. I have to share this. I have to. I feel this burning in my chest. Please, if you're watching this, share this video. And in the comments, I want you to just write down a prayer request. Let's turn that space into a sanctuary. Let's pray for each other. And please subscribe, because I don't know when I'll be able to record again, but he told me to tell you everything. And the next part, the part about the lion, it changes everything. So the third mark, the one that he said separates the remnant from the crowd, the proof of sonship. I told you he showed me a lion. And my first thought, was the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Strength, power, roaring back against the darkness. That's what we want, right? We want to be strong, we want to fight. But that wasn't the vision. Not exactly. In the vision, I saw a magnificent lion, powerful, regal, and it was being surrounded by a pack of hyenas. They were nipping at its heels, snarling, trying to provoke it. They were smaller, weaker, but they were relentless. And the lion, it just stood there. It could have torn them to shreds in a heartbeat. One swipe of its paw would have ended it, but it didn't. It absorbed the insults. It took the nips and the bites. It showed a power not in retaliation, but in restraint. And then Jesus spoke, and his voice was so gentle, but so firm. He said, the world believes strength is the power to destroy your enemies. My strength is the power to love them. The world roars to intimidate. My remnant endures to overcome. The third birthmark is a spirit of lamb-like endurance. It's the supernatural ability to absorb injustice without becoming bitter, to be wronged and not seek revenge, to be slandered and not slander back. It's the spirit of 1 Peter 2:23. When he was reviled, he did not revile in return. When he suffered, he did not threaten, but continued entrusting himself to him who judges justly. And listen, this one cut me to the core because my flesh, my pride, my sense of justice, it screams for retaliation. When someone lies about you, when they attack your character, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to defend yourself. You want to expose them. You want to fight back. I've spent my life in an industry built on reputation, and the instinct to protect that reputation is overwhelming. But Jesus said, the enemy's greatest trap in these last days will not be overt sin, but righteous seeming reactions. He will provoke my people, hoping they will respond in the flesh. He wants them to pick up the sword of offense, of bitterness, of division. But my remnant will carry the shield of faith and the wounds of the Lamb. Their victory is not in winning the argument, but in reflecting my character. He showed me that this is the mark of true spiritual maturity. It's easy to love those who love you. It's easy to be kind to those who are kind to you. But can you bless those who curse you? Can you pray for those who persecute you as he commanded in Matthew 5? Not just with your lips, but with your heart. This is a supernatural work of the Holy Spirit. It's a mark you cannot fake. Your response under pressure reveals who you truly are. Are you a hyena snapping back, or are you a lion with the heart of a lamb strong enough to forgive? He said the world will be watching, and when they see believers being persecuted, lied about, canceled, and responding not with rage, but with a quiet, heartbreaking, powerful love, that will be a testimony that shatters the darkness. That is the third birthmark. And as I was reeling from that, from the conviction of it, the vision shifted again. He said, this endurance, this lamb-like spirit is impossible in human strength. It can only be drawn from one place. And suddenly I was no longer on a plane with a lion. I was in a small, dark room, a closet. And there was a figure kneeling in the dark. I couldn't see a face. It could have been a man or a woman. They weren't saying anything. They were just there, kneeling in silence. And I could feel the connection, the communion happening in that little room. It was more powerful than 1,000-person worship service. It was raw. It was real. It was intimate. And Jesus was standing outside the door and he was smiling. He looked at me and said, this is the engine room of the remnant. So the fourth birth arc is a radical dependence on the secret place. This isn't about your church attendance. It's not about your small group. It's not about the Christian books you read or the podcasts you listen to. It's about your secret history with God. It's about the time you spend with him when no one is watching, when there are no likes, no comments, no applause. It's Matthew 6:6. But when you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Jesus was so emphatic about this. He said, the enemy is building a public church, a church of performance, of spectacle, of personality. I am building a secret church, a church of intimacy, of friendship, of my presence. He said, the coming storm will be so fierce that anyone whose faith is built on a public foundation, on a pastor, on a ministry, on a political ideology, will be blown away. The only ones who will stand are those whose roots have grown deep into the secret place. Those who have learned to hear his voice for themselves. Those who draw their strength not from a Sunday sermon, but from a Tuesday morning encounter in their prayer closet. I felt so exposed. I'm an actor. My whole life is in some way a performance. And he showed me in that moment how much of my spiritual life was still tied to that. Reading the Bible to find something to say, not just to hear from him. Praying prayers I thought sounded good. And he wasn't angry. He was just inviting me deeper. He said, the reward for the secret place is not public recognition. The reward for the secret place is me. That's it. The reward is him knowing him. And in the days to come, he said that will be the only thing that matters. That secret, unshakable friendship with the King of Kings. That is the fourth birth arc. It's the source of all the others. Your discontent with the world is fueled there. Your love for the lost is deepened there. Your ability to endure like the Lamb is found there. So we have these four marks: a holy discontent, an unshakable love for the lost, a spirit of lamb-like endurance, and a radical dependence on the secret place. These are powerful. They are signs of a heart being transformed, being prepared. But the fifth one is different. Jesus told me it's not a posture or a discipline. It's a test. It's a specific, decisive action. He called it the final filter. He said that in the days to come, a situation will arise, a global event that will force everyone to make a choice. And this choice will be the ultimate test of allegiance. He showed me that many people who seem to have the first four marks, people who seem discontent with the world, who talk about loving the lost, who seem gentle, who go to church and pray, they will fail this test. They will stumble because this final test will require a level of surrender and trust that goes against every worldly instinct for self-preservation. He showed me that this one choice will cause a great falling away, a separation so clear and so painful that it will divide families, churches, and friendships forever. It's the one that separates the true remnant from those who just have a form of godliness. And he showed me exactly what that choice is. He showed me what's coming. I need to tell you this. I feel the weight of it. I feel the urgency. Please keep praying for each other in the comments. I'm reading them, and it's giving me strength. We are a family, and we need to stand together. Subscribe, hit the bell, do whatever you have to do so you don't miss what's next. Because understanding this fifth mark, this final filter, could be the most important thing you ever do. It's the key, okay? The fifth mark, the final filter. My heart is pounding just thinking about it because this is where it all becomes real. This is where faith stops being a theory and becomes your only reality. Jesus showed me. He showed me a coming global crisis. It wasn't a war. Not at first. It wasn't a natural disaster, though those will be happening. It was a system collapse, a financial collapse so sudden, so complete, that it will make every other crash in history look like a tremor. The panic will be instantaneous. The shelves will be empty in hours. The systems we rely on for everything, for food, for water, for medicine, for communication, they will just stop. And in the midst of that chaos, a solution will be presented. A beautiful, gleaming, benevolent solution. It will come from a global coalition. And it will be presented as the only way to restore order, the only way to ensure everyone is fed, the only way to keep society from tearing itself apart. It will be a new system, a digital system, one that links your identity to your finances and your access to all goods and services. It will be sold as a triumph of unity and technology, a way to eliminate poverty, to track resources, to create a fair and equitable world for everyone. It will be offered with a smile. And to join, all you'll have to do is accept it, to register, to take a digital mark, a biometric scan, something that says, I am part of this new global family. I trust the system. And Jesus looked at me in the vision, and there were tears in his eyes. He said, this will be the great temptation. It is the temptation I faced in the wilderness to turn stones to bread, to choose physical provision over spiritual obedience. The fifth birth arc, the final filter, is this: a willingness to suffer lack for the sake of Christ. It is the choice to refuse the world's solution, even when it means you cannot buy or sell. It is the choice to trust God to provide for you supernaturally, when every logical part of your brain is screaming at you to just take the mark, to just register, to just ensure your family can eat. It was Revelation 13 playing out in a modern context. But he showed me it will be so deceptive. It won't be presented by a monster with horns. It will be presented by charismatic leaders who speak of peace and security. They will quote scripture out of context. They will say, God doesn't want you to starve. He wants you to be wise. They will call those who refuse radicals, extremists, selfish people who are disrupting the healing of the world. I saw families torn apart over this. I saw a husband pleading with his wife. It's just a registration for the kids. I saw pastors telling their congregations that it was their Christian duty to comply. And I saw